Welcome to Stories by Rushik podcast.
It is so great to be here for this one.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So I want to start with a question today. What if our entire concept of charity is actually, completely insulting to the people we're trying to help?
Oh, wow. Starting off strong.
Right. But seriously, think about it. When we offer someone a hand, do we, subconsciously expect them to just surrender their autonomy?
Yeah, like they have to act exactly the way we want them to just because they needed our help in the first place.
Exactly. And if you've ever stood on a street corner in Mumbai, you are basically forced to confront questions like that pretty quickly.
Oh, for sure. Mumbai is, it's not just a city on a map.
No, not at all. It is this staggering, exhausting, just absolutely magnificent rhythm. You don't really walk there,
You wade.
Yes, you wade. You wade through millions of people, through this blistering poverty, through endless hustles, and then occasionally you wade through these sudden, just startling moments of pure poetry.
It really demands your absolute sensory participation. Like you cannot be a passive observer in that kind of environment.
You really can't.
The heat, the relentless noise of the traffic, just the sheer density of human ambition packed into every square mile, it forces you to pay attention.
Right.
You have to watch how people survive when their margins for error are, virtually zero.
And that survival is exactly what we're unpacking today. We're looking at 5 very specific, truly life-changing moments captured right there on those streets.
I love these accounts so much.
They're amazing, right? The author of these accounts, Rushik, actually started out with a very simple, almost entirely aesthetic mission.
Just walking around with a camera, right?
Yeah, exactly. He had a camera slung over his shoulder, heavy monsoon clouds were gathering overhead, and he just wanted to document the physical environment.
Looking for those classic, iconic visuals.
Right. But what he ended up documenting fundamentally redefined and honestly, my own understanding of what it means to give and what it means to witness the stubborn beauty of survival.
Which is just such a vital pivot. The theme that really anchors this entire conversation is agency.
Yes. Agency.
We're going to examine how individuals maintain their dignity and their control when the world has seemingly stripped them of both.
It's basically a masterclass in how people refuse to be reduced to mere statistics, or just charity cases.
Absolutely.
So let's step right out of that chaotic, horn-blaring rhythm of the traffic for a second. Let's move to a moment of absolute stillness.
Okay, set the scene for us.
Picture the gray sea under even grayer monsoon skies. And just standing there is this young boy.
A completely isolated subject.
Right. He's essentially this solitary patch of vivid color against this massive, gloomy backdrop. He's holding a bunch of balloons, red, pink, yellow, and a single green one.
That one green balloon really stands out.
It really does. And his shirt is torn, his rubber slippers are worn down to the absolute bare minimum. But what makes this scene so compelling is what he is deliberately choosing not to do.
Which is such a powerful observation by the author. He is refusing to participate in the expected chase.
Exactly. He's not running after anyone.
Right, because in a hyper-competitive environment like Mumbai, the default survival mechanism is to make as much noise as possible.
Yeah.
You shout, you wave, you relentlessly pursue the customer.
But he's totally silent.
Yes. And the human brain, in an environment of constant screaming, develops habituation. We neurologically tune out the constant noise just to function. Mm-hmm. So by choosing absolute silence, the boy is actually disrupting that cognitive filter.
He's just letting the wind pull at the balloon strings and trusting that someone will stop.
It's incredible.
The author obviously notices this anomaly, right? He watches for a while, approaches the boy, and asks him the most natural question. He says, why don't you shout like all the other vendors?
And the response is just brilliant.
It is. The boy looks at him and delivers this incredibly profound answer. He says, in his native language, he says that balloons fly and dreams do too.
Wow.
And then he adds, the ones who want to see will stop.
Notice the immense self-respect in that statement.
Yeah.
He is asserting that joy or beauty doesn't actually need to scream in order to be recognized. It's a complete rejection of the desperation we usually associate with street vending.
I was trying to wrap my head around why that silence feels so powerful, and it actually reminds me of a concept in musical theory.
Oh, like what?
Well, when you listen to a fiercely complex, fast-paced orchestral score, your brain gets totally used to this wall of sound. But then the composer writes in a deliberate rest.
A full stop.
Exactly. Absolute silence for one measure. And it's that sudden void that makes you lean forward in your seat. The silence is what forces the moving world to pause and pay attention.
That is a perfect analogy.
Thanks. I just think this boy figured out how to be a musical rest in the loudest city on Earth.
He really did. We frequently conflate survival with outcompeting everyone else in the room through sheer volume. But the author's insight here really centers on the quiet dignity of not chasing, but choosing to rise.
Choosing to rise, I love that.
The boy believes implicitly in the value of what he's offering. He doesn't need to force it on anyone.
Well, the author bought a balloon from the boy and actually released it into the sky, kind of wondering if it carried a piece of that quiet defiance with it.
What a beautiful image.
It is, but, we can't stay in that stillness forever. The reality of the city is that sometimes survival requires intense kinetic action.
Yes, the hustle.
Right. This brings us from passive dignity to a very active fighting resilience. We're moving into Dharavi now, and for anyone unfamiliar, this is one of the largest, most densely populated informal settlements in the world.
The environment there operates on an entirely different frequency.
It's just packed.
It is.
Yeah.
The silence in those narrow tin-roofed lanes isn't the absence of noise. It's the physical weight of thousands of unspoken aspirations pressed together.
So tucked away between these tangled electric wires and cramped homes, there's this young girl squatting on a stone. And she has a stack of yesterday's newspapers. Fold by fold, she is transforming this discarded news into these fragile, intricate paper swans. She's entirely absorbed in the craft.
Wow, just making swans out of old news.
Yeah, and beside her is a pile of them. Some are torn, some are flawless, but she sells them at the traffic signal for 2 rupees apiece.
That's practically nothing.
It is. But the motivation goes way beyond the 2 rupees. Her mother had given her this staggering piece of advice.
Oh, I know this quote. It's so good.
Right. She told her, if the world throws paper at you, fold it into something it can't ignore.
Consider the psychological armor in that advice.
Seriously.
She is teaching her daughter the mechanics of metamorphosis. She isn't just recycling paper, right? She's taking the literal discarded waste of society and forcing society to buy it back as art.
Exactly. And because of that obvious talent, the author decides not to just hand her a few coins. He actually offers her an address for a friend's art school.
Which is a huge opportunity.
A huge one. They would take her in and mentor her for free. But what fascinates me here is her reaction.
It's not what you'd expect.
Not at all. She doesn't burst into tears. She doesn't even say thank you. She simply hands him a swan.
Yeah.
Like, why hold the verbal gratitude there?
Well, because words are entirely insufficient for what just happened. I mean, the traditional transaction of charity demands verbal subservience, right?
Yeah.
The expected thank you.
We always expect them to be overly grateful.
Exactly. But she is offering something far more valuable. She's offering physical proof of her capability. As the author brilliantly points out, some people give you gratitude, but others give you a tangible piece of their metamorphosis.
A piece of their metamorphosis. Man, that's heavy.
By handing him the swan, she is validating his investment in her as a peer, not as a superior.
Right, she's maintaining her status. And that transition from being a passive recipient of charity to an active agent of one's own future, that perfectly sets the stage for my absolute favorite encounter in this collection.
Oh, the toy seller.
Yeah, the toy seller. So we're back at a chaotic intersection. It's the classic 90-second red light hustle.
Such a specific time frame.
You're sitting in a cab, the light turns red, and suddenly this boy darts out between these massive SUVs and rickshaws with a basket bouncing against his chest.
Just weaving through traffic.
Exactly. He's selling plastic action figures, keychains, a tired old yo-yo, and he puts on this incredible performance.
He's a true salesman.
He really is, flashing smiles, doing balancing tricks on the pavement. He's incredibly thin, his t-shirt is kind of clumsy, but he has the eyes of a 40-year-old businessman.
Crucially, though, observe his behavior when the light turns green.
Yeah, this part blew my mind.
If he hasn't made a sale, he doesn't bang on the window, he doesn't scowl. He just waves a polite goodbye to the accelerating cars.
It's so professional.
It is. He completely discards any bitterness and resets his psychological state for the very next red light. That requires immense emotional regulation for a kid.
It's wild. The author was so struck by this that he actually got out of his cab, walked back, and just sat down with the kid on the pavement.
To just talk to him.
Yeah, and the boy tells him he's saving up because he wants to be a pilot one day. And his reasoning, it's amazing. He says he wants to fly because even the sky has signals, but no traffic.
A brilliant observation from a kid whose entire life is dictated by the gridlock of the street.
It's pure poetry. So the author decides to take major action. He uses his connections to arrange for the boy to join a local children's shelter.
A real tangible intervention.
Right. This place would cover his living expenses, his daily food, and actually provide a formal education. So he presents this incredible opportunity to the boy and tells him, look, promise me you'll stop wasting your time selling toys on the street and use this time to study.
The classic condition.
Exactly. And here is where I really have to push back on the standard feel-good narrative we're all fed.
The whole savior complex.
Precisely. Society trains us to expect a very specific script when a person of means helps someone in poverty.
Right. The script says the rich person swoops in, offers the basics, and the poor person just drops their entire street identity.
Yes. They're supposed to go to school, act endlessly grateful, and never step out of line again. We demand total submission in exchange for our generosity.
But that's not what happens here.
Not at all. This boy politely says thank you for the shelter and then firmly insists he is going to keep selling his toys anyway.
He refuses to surrender his hustle.
He just won't do it.
Because he explains that he needs to continue earning money to make future investments for his family. He's operating with a long-term economic vision that a simple bed and a textbook just do not fully satisfy.
Which really begs the question, does true giving mean we have to tolerate people retaining their agency?
It's a great question.
Like, why do we get offended when people don't hand over their autonomy the second we write a check? This kid is an entrepreneur. He wants the education, but he refuses to become a passive charity case. I think that is incredibly threatening to the traditional ego of philanthropy.
No, it absolutely threatens the power dynamic.
Yeah.
What makes this interaction so vital is the author's realization that followed. There was no anger, only admiration.
Yeah, he respected him.
Exactly. The boy was a pragmatist. The author realizes that sometimes the kindest gift you can offer another human being is not money, and it certainly isn't dictating the terms of their existence.
No.
It is simply offering an alternate ending.
An alternate ending. I love that phrasing. You provide the safety net, but you don't confiscate the steering wheel.
You give them the option of a different future without rewriting their core character.
Yeah.
The boy gets to sleep in a safe bed, but he still gets to be the businessman he clearly is. It's the ultimate form of respect.
Man, that's powerful. All right, so having explored physical survival and this fierce protection of economic agency, I want to pivot for a second. I want to shift our focus to something less visible, but I think equally urgent.
Emotional survival.
Exactly, emotional survival, the deep, agonizing human need for connection, for an audience, for a sense of belonging.
This next story really captures that.
It does. Picture a traditional wedding procession, a barat moving down the street. It's loud, right? Blinking neon lights, a live brass band playing, family members dancing right in the middle of the road.
A huge celebration.
Right. But standing across the street, totally unnoticed in the shadows, is a 10-year-old boy. He's dusty and barefoot, but his eyes are just locked onto the rhythm of that wedding band.
He's captivated.
Every time the drum hits, his fingers move, his shoulders are twitching, the music is like visibly pulling the sadness right out of his body.
He's attempting to participate in the joy, but from a safe, invisible distance.
So the author sees this, right? He walks over and offers the boy a plate of wedding food, but the boy declines the food. He looks up and says, in English, I am not someone who is invited.
Oof. That sentence is absolutely devastating.
It really is.
It exposes the invisible, impenetrable social wall between the haves and the have-nots. He understands his place in the social hierarchy so deeply that he refuses to accept calories if they are handed down as pity.
He didn't want charity.
No, what he actually craves isn't the food, it's the invitation to legitimately exist in that space of joy.
So the author does something brilliant here. Instead of forcing the food on him, he walks into the crowd, straight up to the groom, and just whispers in his ear.
I love this moment.
The groom smiles, turns toward the dark side of the street, and calls out to the boy. He tells him, if you won't come and join the celebrations of your elder brother's wedding today, when will you? Come on in.
Wow.
And the boy runs in. He dances until his limbs physically give up. For one night, the wall just completely evaporates. He belongs.
Belonging is the critical element there. You don't have to share DNA to invite someone into a moment of happiness.
Okay, but wait, I have to challenge something here.
Go for it.
The author is literally a street photographer. His entire reason for being out there is to capture powerful, raw moments of human emotion. Yet, he explicitly chose not to photograph the boy celebrating in the crowd.
Right. He put the camera down.
He took a photo beforehand to give the boy later as inspiration, but he didn't shoot the actual dancing. In our modern, heavily documented culture, isn't he kind of failing his professional mission? I mean, taking that photo could have been a career-defining shot.
Well, it might have been a great shot for portfolio, sure, but it would have been an ethical failure of observation.
How so?
Think about the commodification of joy. If he raises the camera while the boy is dancing, he immediately turns that child's pure, unadulterated happiness into, quote-unquote, content for someone else's consumption.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
By keeping the lens down, he refuses to monetize the boy's belonging. He allows the moment to remain sacred, ensuring the boy experiences the joy entirely for himself, rather than just as a subject in an artist's narrative.
That is profound. Leaving a joyful moment unrecorded can actually be the highest form of respect. That really blows my mind, especially today when we feel like anxious if we haven't posted a good moment online.
Oh, definitely. If it's not on social media, did it even happen?
Exactly. Now, that theme of emotional validation flows seamlessly into our final encounter. We're back in the heavy, honking madness of the city traffic.
Back to the noise.
Back to the noise. There's a rusted, faded old delivery truck with a half-broken horn "OK Please" painted on the back. And inside is a guy in his 30s. He's chewing areca nut, which is a common, slightly stimulating habit for drivers pulling long shifts. And he's just singing old Kishore Kumar songs at the top of his lungs.
The author actually asks him for a lift, right? And gets introduced to the truck, which the driver affectionately calls Ronnie.
Yes. Ronnie has a full personality. The driver explains how she groans going uphill and glides downhill like an absolute diva.
I love that.
And the driver is a total fixture in the neighborhood. He knows all the streets, helps people load cargo, brings small treats to the local kids. But during the ride, he drops this incredibly heavy confession.
Yeah, this part is tough.
He admits he always dreamed of being a writer. But then he says life made me just one chapter and not the whole story.
You can just hear the resignation in that.
It's heartbreaking.
He has completely internalized the idea that his dream is as rusted and obsolete as his truck. The sociology of the invisible working class often dictates that their stories only exist to facilitate other people's lives.
Right, they're background characters.
Exactly. They deliver the goods, but they don't get to offer the narrative.
Well, the author decides to intervene in that narrative. He makes a deal with the driver. For a whole week, he asks the driver to tell him a new story every single morning.
That's a huge commitment.
It is. He records the audio, gives the driver the rest of the day to physically write it down, and then they listen to the recordings together over meals. And then he takes those stories and publishes them on his own social media as a blog series called the Ronnie Diaries.
This psychological mechanism at play here is just profound.
Why does it change the driver so much?
Because the human brain actually requires an external audience to solidify identity.
Yeah.
We only believe we are something when we are witness doing it. By the end of the month, this truck driver has readers commenting from multiple cities.
He's a real writer to them.
He isn't just delivering cargo anymore. He is delivering narratives. Being heard literally rewires his self-worth.
They tragically lost touch during the pandemic, and he couldn't trace the driver afterward, which is so sad. But the legacy of that interaction really remains. Even the most rusted dreams can shine again if someone simply provides the space to listen.
That's such a beautiful takeaway.
It really is. Which brings us to the ultimate question. We've dissected these 5 deeply specific street encounters, but when we zoom out, the final piece of the puzzle isn't actually about the subjects on the street.
No, it's about the observer himself.
Exactly.
His own metamorphosis is the crucial takeaway here. I mean, remember his initial mindset? He went out looking for the classic, easily digestible aesthetics of the city. Trains, rain, crowded intersections.
He went looking for poverty porn, essentially, the visual drama of struggle.
Right. But amidst the intense heat and the overwhelming reality of the streets, he stopped seeing just the pain. He started seeing the humor, the wit, and the immense strength.
And this led to his concluding philosophy, which I think is just a brilliant piece of thought leadership. To truly experience the world and to give meaningfully, you have to aggressively reject victimhood.
Yes. It is the active fight against the internal toxicity of failure and envy. When life is demonstrably unfair, it's incredibly seductive to find comfort in being a victim.
Oh, for sure.
It absolves you of the responsibility to try. But what he observed in the balloon seller's dignity, the paper swan girl's resilience, the toy seller's hustle, the wedding watcher's dance, and the delivery man's patience, is that every single one of them was actively rejecting bitterness.
They refuse to be bitter.
They recognize that because life is tough, every small joy is a victory that simply must be fought for.
He thought he was pointing his camera outward to capture the golden chaos of the city, but witnessing that level of resilience, it forces you to recalibrate your own internal baseline for what constitutes a bad day. That camera lens ultimately functioned as a mirror, reflecting his own life, his own privileges, and forcing an internal transformation. It really makes you reconsider how you walk through your own neighborhood, you know? Are you just complaining about the noise, or are you listening for the musical rests?
Are you looking at discarded newspaper, or are you looking for the swans?
Man, that's good. I want to leave you, the listener, with a question to chew on today. Think about your own daily routines. When you are standing on the edge of the street, whether you are holding onto your own version of those balloons or standing in the dark watching someone else's wedding, are you passively waiting for the world to invite you in? Or are you recognizing your own quiet dignity, your own agency, while you wait? Thank you for listening to Stories by Ruchik podcast. For more such podcasts, follow Stories by Ruchik on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Prime Music, and YouTube.